Good morning, everybody. It is great to see you today. Always share your greetings because that's how we see each other in an online platform like this. I'm so thankful to have this time with you again this morning, although today is a super weird day because the choir is presenting their spring cantata today at 10 a.m. in person. And I have encouraged you to come, so I know there'll be fewer people online this morning. However, I've been thinking a lot about everything that's been happening in our world, of course, as you know. And if you've heard me speak before, you know that I don't really shy away from talking about the really difficult and some would even say controversial things, even though I don't know why they're controversial, honestly, at this point. Um, and so, putting all of that in perspective, today I want to talk with you a little bit about perspective on all of those things because I wrestle with it often. I wrestle with talking about the stuff that we all kind of want to forget. We don't want to keep dealing with the political climate, the difficulties that we're all experiencing because of it, or immigration, all of this stuff. We kind of want it to go away for a little while, and I think that's fine. But I've been thinking about it a lot, as you can imagine. Just this week, I had a super productive and helpful conversation with a couple of the leaders here at the church. I initiated this conversation about it, just to talk about, am I talking about politics too much, and how do we think about that? And we didn't really come up with good conclusions about that, to tell you the truth, except that maybe I can offer a little bit more time away from it, maybe. I don't know. But even since then, that was this last Tuesday, I just keep thinking about this in perspective. And I want to talk about that today for a little bit. So may God bless this time with insight, with ideas, and with presence. Amen. Um, as a kid growing up in the large live oak trees in Florida, just outside of Tampa, I didn't think a lot about things like the stars, and the sky because, well, I did think about the sky because of hurricanes, but I didn't think a lot about stars in the sky because as a kid in Florida, in the trees, honestly, you just didn't see them that much. And Florida's cloudy a lot, so we just didn't think about it a lot. But as an adult, I have really enjoyed seeing stars with a different perspective. We've had the opportunity to travel to a few places. Here we go, perspective. We've had the opportunity to travel to a few places. In fact, one of them is a dark sky park, and it is called Joshua Tree National Park. I don't know if any of you have ever been there or heard of this concept of dark sky parks or dark sky locations. What is really cool about dark skies, is actually dark sky sanctuaries, is that they're places identified um, away from all city lights and things like that, so you really can see all the stars. And there's an organization that addresses this. They're called Dark Sky International, and they address this issue of light pollution and how it is better for all of us if there are spaces where we're not invading with all of our lights and all of our technology. But we had a chance to go to Joshua Tree National Park and sit up, thanks, Michael, and sit out there and in the dark and try to see as many stars as we could. I think that was one of the most recent times that I've really enjoyed seeing stars. And then, prior to that, actually, since then, we went to Waimea Canyon off of in Kauai, one of the Hawaiian islands, and we stayed in this house that had a grassy backyard, and we were far enough away from the lights of Kauai, which there aren't a ton there anyway, that we could see everything. We could even see the Milky Way. It was just super super clear and beautiful out there. And some time ago now, we had a chance to go to Madeline Island, and I have a lot of memories of sitting out on a dock in the water and being able to see a meteor shower, just how incredible that was. In fact, when my kids were young, we hung out on the back porch of our house in Lino Lakes, Minnesota, all wrapped up in blankets and watched a meteor shower. Of course, none of these are pictures that I took because taking photography at night and of stars is really complicated. But I have a lot of really fond memories of that night that we stayed out watching the stars and how incredibly beautiful they are and were. This last week, in fact, was International Dark Sky Week, April 13th through 20th. There's a Minnesota chapter of this International Dark Sky, which, if you're interested in looking it up, you can see where dark sky parks are, dark sky sanctuaries are. In fact, there's a couple of areas right in the state of Minnesota. There's 200 worldwide, but there's some right here in Minnesota, and one of them is Voyageurs National Park, which is up north in Minnesota. We haven't had a chance to go there yet, but that is on our list. And right by Voyageurs National Park is the Boundary Waters, which I know many of you have been to and have visited. The Boundary Waters International Dark Sky is an international dark sky sanctuary, meaning it is a place where you're not going to have lights. And it is one of the most beautiful places you can go. It's remote and it's dark. It's a conservation state that is increasingly fragile as time goes on. In fact, I don't even know if you guys would have heard of what happened in the news this week. But this is part of that perspective I'm talking about. But, just this week, the U.S. Senate narrowly voted to lift a 20-year mining ban near the Boundary Waters, sparking debate over environmental risks. This just has people so very sad. And this was just this last Friday, just 2 days ago. This happened, that they did this. These opportunities that we have to preserve the beauty of our planet and actually care for the land, we just see this invasion of lack of care for our land, to trading it out for industry, for money, for power, for all these things that people think they need or want to have. Thanks, Michael. That's a news story about that, if you didn't hear about the vote and what happened this week because of that. I've been thinking a lot about this, though, and the dark sky parks that we probably want to get to, because this one's not going to be as preserved as we want it to if this continues and goes through. Maybe we want to get to some of those places and see all those stars. However, I had this realization this week. Even if we traveled to all the dark sky international sanctuaries in the whole world, ultimately, we'd see the same stars. Not all. I know there's a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere to the world, and they do see a little bit different stars. But if we just traveled to a few across the hemispheres, we would see the same stars. They're all the same. Because in perspective, we are all in this together on this earth. And even though we might think that different locations in the world have completely different perspectives on everything, we all see the same stars. Of course, this makes me think of a scripture, as you can imagine, because that's how my brain is inclined. And it's one of my favorites. It's one of my default scriptures that I go to when I think about God and the earth and all of creation, and just in perspective how much all of this really truly matters. This is a beautiful psalm. You'll probably recognize it. O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You set your glory above the heavens. Out of the mouths of babes and infants, you founded a bulwark because of your foes, to silence the enemy and the avenger. This verse sounds like it's violence, but it's not. It's really about preserving the sovereignty of God and of all creation that God has created. Here's the part I love. When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you have established. What are humans that you are mindful of them? Mortals that you care for them. Yet you have made them a little lower than God and crowned them with glory and honor. You've given them dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under their feet, all sheep and oxen, and also the beasts of the field, the birds of the air and the fish of the sea, whatever passes along the paths of the seas. O Lord, our sovereign, How majestic is your name in all the earth. This wide and beautiful perspective of all these things, and this incredible responsibility that we have as these teeny tiny creatures in this vast, vast universe. These nothing little things, but this earth that we live on is so important. It matters so much. It holds so much life. It holds so much beauty and the continuation of life and good life. See, I think that's God's plan, that we would all live in a healthy way, that this planet would be healthy, that we would learn to care for each other, that we would see it all in perspective. This matters. This earth matters a lot. Yeah, there was something else that happened over the last couple of weeks that was super cool. You probably heard about the Artemis 2 space mission. Um, Really cool stuff. They get out there and they're trucking around and doing all these tests because they're essentially preparing for more space travel, which is just so cool, so amazing to me. I think it's fantastic. And I know some people say, why are we spending money on that? Well, we could say that about a lot of things. But this was a really cool mission. And there was this astronaut on the trip. His name is Victor Glover. I don't know if you saw this week, but he shared some thoughts on video because they were interviewing him out there in the space station. Listen to his words.
I don't have anything prepared. I'm glad you brought that up, though. I think these observances are important, and as we are so far from Earth and looking back at, the beauty of creation, I think for me, one of the really important personal perspectives that I have up here is I can really see Earth as one thing. And, when I read the Bible and I look at all of the amazing things that were done for us who were created, it's you have this amazing place, this spaceship. You guys are talking to us because we're in a spaceship really far from Earth, but you're on a spaceship called Earth that was created to give us a place to live in the universe, in the cosmos. I think maybe the distance we are from you makes you think what we're doing is special, but we're the same distance from you. And I'm trying to tell you, just trust me, you are special. In all of this emptiness, this is a whole bunch of nothing, this thing we call the universe. You have this oasis, this beautiful place that we get to exist together. I think as we go into Easter Sunday, thinking about, all the cultures all around the world, whether you celebrate it or not, whether you believe in God or not, this is an opportunity for us to remember where we are, who we are, and that we are the same thing and that we got to get through this together.
Yeah, aren't his words incredible there? We have this beautiful space that we get to exist. And then he used the word together, together. This all matters so much. Considering this beauty of all that is. I mean, we see the stars from this earth, and here was somebody who was closer to the stars, although I know he wasn't that far in comparison to the size of the universe, looking back at the earth going, this is incredible. This is incredible. This whole thing is incredible. Each life, everything. I'm even talking about the white stuff on the grass this morning because it's going to make everything so much greener. Every single thing that we get to be a part of as we live on this earth as human beings. It's so incredible and beautiful and important. It's really important. And that matters because at the same time, we think about the beauty of this earth and the beauty of life and the possibility of existing together in a healthy way. We simply have to be aware that there are over 12,000 nuclear warheads on this planet. And right now we have a president who claims Jesus, okay? Who is even called anointed by God, who threatened to destroy an entire civilization. All this in perspective. This happened. I'm going to show you his post. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. This was on Tuesday, April 7th. I remember this day very clearly. Tuesday, April 7th. I felt like I had swallowed a bowling ball the whole day. I was just so scared. so worried. Here's his words: a whole civilization will die tonight. Do you know what kind of weaponry it takes to cause a whole civilization to die? And government officials, even including our vice president, alluded to the kind of bombs, the kind of weapons that would cause so much destruction, so much damage, they would jeopardize all of us. All of us. We hold this truth that although we live on this beautiful and precious planet with these short lifetimes that we have, there are people who have the ability to destroy it all of it. And knowing that the United States has nuclear weapons wasn't something that scared me as much in the past, but it does now. It worries me a lot now. So, all things in perspective, this is important. It's too important to let go. I saw this article by Kat Armas. I've been seeing her a lot lately. She's an author, and I love her words and her work. And I want you to hear her words. She says, I can't stop thinking about the contrast. A man among the stars. She was talking about the astronaut we talked about Victor Glover. Speaking about love, and a man leading a country on earth thinking he is God. In less than 2 weeks, the president criticized the Pope. I'll get to that. A man who dedicated his life to the poor in Peru multiple times, shared an image of himself as Jesus, denied it and deleted it, and then cut funding to a Catholic charity serving unhoused children in Miami. If you didn't know that happened, I'm not sharing a link to it today, but look it up. It happened. Meanwhile, an astronaut on his way to the moon spoke about love and our shared humanity. There's something striking about that juxtaposition, don't you think? On one hand, a reminder, like astronaut Victor Glover put it, that we're all one on this blue dot in the cosmos with only each other to rely on. On the other, a man elevating himself above everyone, threatening to wipe out entire peoples, filled with lives and laughter, dreams and hopes. That's why that Tuesday was so terrifying, truly. It still is. We can't forget that it happened. We've seen two competing visions of truth, and it should do more than unsettle us. It should encourage us to reckon with which story we want to belong to. And so, even in thinking about, should I keep talking about, the political stuff because everybody's so sick of hearing about it, and I'm sick of talking about it, I come to this place of, I have to. I have to. Yep, Myrna, that's right. Earth Day this week. Yes, I have to talk about it. Of course, the Pope had some things to say this week about all of that. Here's his words. The masters of war pretend not to know that it takes only a moment to destroy, yet a lifetime is often not enough to rebuild. They turn a blind eye to the fact that billions of dollars are spent on killing and devastation, yet the resources needed for healing, education, and restoration are nowhere to be found. Yeah, Myrna, I agree, but I'm tired of it. Aren't we all? I don't agree with all parts of Catholic theology. You all know that if you've heard me speak before. But this is the Pope. He matters, and his words here, all about it. Completely agree. I want to say that you may be in a place in your life where the chaos of all this political climate is really just too much. Like maybe, I know some of you are dealing with a diagnosis or entering hospice even. And I know that there are all kinds of down to earth, I got to get through today kind of realities. I get that. And I see you, and I want to spend time talking with you about those important things too, about matters of the heart and matters of our lives, and all of this in reference to the love of God that continues to work for healing for each individual. I get that. And I think I need to do better with addressing many of these down to earth things as well. And we'll continue here to work towards loving our neighbor in these very tangible ways, one person at a time, one food item at a time, one community building, all of this. We'll continue in all of this work. But I just have to say to you that as the leader of an organization like this one that intends to follow and represent Jesus, when it comes to this public platform that I have, albeit small, I really can't stand down. As much as I want to not talk about all of this anymore, we know from history what happens when people give in and give up, when they stop fighting for what's right, when they get too tired of it. I think of that song I learned as a kid. You probably learned it too. It's that one, he's got the whole world in his hands. If you didn't learn that as a kid, then you're too young, okay? But I don't believe that God is gendered, but you get the concept of God has all of this, and we are a part of that. We are a part of this whole creation. And in my opinion, every child's life should matter. Every person's life should matter. All living things need to be cared for in balance. We have a huge responsibility to keep this place going, to keep it alive. Not just this place, ourselves. We have a responsibility to keep ourselves moving forward in health and awareness. I just want you to know on this weird Sunday that is different because of the choir cantata where I just get to talk online, that I feel it. I don't want to talk about it all anymore. But I have to. I have to. I don't really think we can look away for very long. That being said, go outside, look at the flowers, and if you're old like me, follow the birds, watch the birds, look at the water, look at the sky today, the blue in Minnesota, even the white stuff on the grass. Spend time with family, play with kids, prepare meals together, cook, eat, do all of the things that we need to do to be alive and stay alive. Remind yourself of all the good things as often as you can. Remember all these things with gratitude. And yet, friends, I encourage you to stay with it, to not give up, to not stop. Because I do think there's a potential for a lot of things to happen. And I think as people who intend to follow Jesus, we have to keep stepping up. We have to keep stepping in. So I guess that's really the message I wanted to share with you today. I think God grieves over all of this violence. Um, I think God grieves over the threats of violence. And yet I think God rejoices every time we're willing to love through it all. We're willing to engage. We're willing to care. Let's keep it in perspective, friends. We're working together. We need to stay with it. So much love to all of you. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to engage with you in whatever is happening in your lives, whatever you're thinking about, whatever is going on. I look forward to continued work with you as we go forward with faith. And again, as always, I encourage you to get involved. The smallest things will help bring you joy. Take care, everybody, and much love. I'll see you soon.